Hi everyone, it's Elizabeth here. So I wanted to do this video in regards to God, true love, and destiny, and kind of sharing some thoughts and experiences I've had in terms of is destiny something really real? I know that when you look at life through a spiritual lens versus a logical lens, your perceptions and perspectives vastly and greatly change. I do believe every person on this planet is sent here for some form of a reason to learn and to grow on a soul level, and that also means that a lot of people have different lessons to be learned when it comes to matters of the heart. And for some people, if you believe in the Eastern philosophy stuff, you can call that your karma. Other people might say things like fate and destiny. But I remember many years ago, I was talking to, when I was married in a relationship, my ex and I used to talk about how there was somebody out there for everybody. And so, because at that time we had some friends who were really, really struggling. One of our friends was from Asia, and he was maybe 5'3", so being a short Asian guy was really it really hurt his self-esteem, because obviously, in America we have, or in the West, we have a different vision of a man. A lot of women tend to idolize the more kind of, not saying they're all have to look like a Viking or a Roman god, but that really tall, kind of muscular man, kind of the more alpha traits are definitely something that is more admirable. So from a logical lens, that's what seems to be attractive, but we knew deep down there was somebody out there for him. It was just a matter of when it was going to happen, or things like divine timing. I do believe God sends people in our lives for a reason, a season, and a lifetime. And I think today a lot of people are getting second chances because divorce and everything is going out of control. A lot of Christians talk about divorce being a sin. Obviously, if it's adultery or infidelity, that's not a sin, that is a right to divorce. But other people in other spiritual communities believe otherwise, that sometimes when you love somebody so much and you can't fulfill their needs, you let them go, and that is a form of love. So to some degree, letting somebody go is, it comes from a very pure place of loving that person so much that you want to see them happy, even if it means not with them. But that does conflict a lot of old traditional values in terms of, saying people are just throwing in the towel and stuff like that too quickly, and that goes against the grain of what you would see biblically. So the irony of all of this is, are we throwing in the towel too early, and are we being too selfish and self-centered to where we need to realize that our husband or our wife may not be able to fulfill every single need in our life? And maybe you have a friend of the same gender or something that can fulfill that certain need in your life. I mean, I know I've met so many older people through the world of fitness and in hiking and on the Camino, and these women weren't hiking type of women, and they let their husbands do the hiking, and that's how they got their, their yayas out and their adventurous spirit. So, of course, these men would have loved to do this with their wives, but there's some things in life that not everybody can fulfill, and so it's all about an act of balance. So I do believe in fate and destiny. I've had some weird stuff happen in my life, and I've seen this happen in other people's lives, and I just wanted to share a passage from the book I wrote, Finding Om, an Indian journey of rickshaws, chai, chapati, and gurus. And so if you do have this book, I will be reading from page 89. And so I'm going to read about a page and a half that shares a story of a lesson that I learned at the age of 21 to 22. I think I was 22 at this point, on understanding fate and destiny and how God brings people together. So just to give you a little bit of context here, I worked at a vegan cafe as one of my jobs in college, and so I would have all sorts of friends and customers. I had a coworker named Jack, and he had a girlfriend named Heather. We used to hang out with each other, And there used to be this Christian family who used to come into the cafe. So this is all set place in Bowling Green, Ohio, at Bowling Green State University. And I became friends with this Christian woman because she was actually a massage therapist for tennis players in San Diego, and she actually did massage therapy for Martina Hingis. And so she was also one of my mentors to go to India because she spent 9 years there. So she was giving me a lot of stories, tips, and context on how to kind of protect yourself as a solo female traveler going into India. So I'm going to start with this story on the bottom of page 89, and then I'm just going to read about a page and a half. Excuse me. So at times, Jack, his girlfriend Heather, and I would rendezvous at Squeakers, or I would serve them when they would come in to eat. We conversed many times about my upcoming journey and fears. After one conversation, Jack said something that stuck with me. Just live your life. That sounded so simple but complex at the same time. It encouraged me to release worries and stress about the tiny details of life. I understood the concept to live life, but my mind struggled to truly grasp with its meaning. Sunday came and I worked my regular shift at Squeakers. The Christian family came in and ordered their usual 4 smoothies, 2 specials, and 2 sandwiches. They grocery shopped while I cooked their meals in the kitchen. They had 1 girl and 1 boy. The children would take a box of crackers, crush the crackers, and make a mess. Every Sunday, the girl threw the crackers on the floor, and I would hear, "Destiny, don't do that." Every Sunday, I kept hearing Destiny and became intrigued at why their child had such a unique name. At checkout, I asked, "How did you come up with the name Destiny? It's so unique." The mom smiled and said, "Well, it's a crazy story. Jeff and I went to high school with each other. I always liked him, and he always liked me. But he and I were too shy and never became boyfriend and girlfriend. After India, I moved to San Diego for massage, and I was single. My friends there kept telling me I should date, and they wanted to set me up on a blind date. They kept telling me they knew a guy that was so nice and handsome and would be perfect for me. I was in my early 30s, so I agreed to meet this guy. They had me go to a cafe, and luck be had it, the person who walked through the door was Jeff. We had no idea we'd be meeting each other, but we both became so emotional. How did this guy from small town Ohio make it all the way out to San Diego, too? After all those years of being apart from high school to early 30s, it was destiny that drove us together. A higher power sent us to each other when the time was right. And that, Betsy, is why we named our little girl Destiny, because without Destiny, Jeff and I would never have been together." Taken aback, I did not know whether to tear or with emotion or smile at the amazement of life. The beautiful story took my breath away. My curiosity wondered if I should surrender my current relationship issues to destiny. So I think that story has a lot of interesting points. I think one, because I was going to India at this time to do yoga, and I've always, looking back at my life, I've always had Christians surround me. And so this, I feel like, was a very powerful story that I learned from a Christian family. And I always believed in God, and I believed in fate and divine timing of a lot of things. And so I guess where I'm going with this is that if you do believe in God or destiny or fate, I do think if you do your work on this planet, God will send you the right person that you need at that right point in time. Whether you want to call it a soulmate, a twin flame, I think people are getting so attached with all these buzzwords that they're losing sight at what is happening. But the thing is, that person that's going to come into your life, you know, we all want a relationship to be easy and smooth going, and that definitely should be it, but the reality is we have to deal with human emotions, human problems, and life is not always a fairy tale and like a Hollywood movie. I mean, if you love romantic movies, if you've seen The Notebook, those two were best set up as soulmates and twin flames to where they had butting heads with each other. I can't remember the character's name, but that Ryan Gosling guy and that other girl. But anyway, that doesn't matter. But anyways, you could see that there was true love between them, but it wasn't perfect, that they fought all the time. And one of the lines that he, told her in that movie was like, it's going to be hard, but this is what I want to do. And so I do think that, you have to have a little bit of a logical lens, and you can't screw it up in the sense of, do not take this person for granted. If you're at a stage where this is like the right one that entered your life and you're not really ready for a relationship, the wavelengths may be off. But there is a lot of that communication that can really make or break a relationship, to where it's like maybe things are just established as a friendship while you guys are, there's a little hummingbird outside of my window here. Oh, he's so cute. That's spiritual. That, maybe there is a relationship while one person is working on themselves. And so it doesn't necessarily mean like, just because God brought you together, it doesn't mean you're going to like rush and get married and have children and things like that. Because here on planet Earth, like, you're going to have to deal with where, both people are, and to see if both people are up to speed. But I think it is, God sends people into our lives, but it is our free will to do something about that, and or walk away from the crap that no longer serves us to fully serve that person and that relationship that's in your life. And unfortunately, a lot of people today don't want to sacrifice and give up this stuff that no longer serves them. I mean, there's so much today, you can go online and read so many news articles about like micro flirting and stuff, which is like you're basically flirting with people at work or on Facebook, and to get that like fresh high and things like that. So that's where a lot of contentment comes into play. And I think if this is the type of love that you want in your life, you have to do the work. You have to clean up your life in a lot of different ways. You have to get rid of the trash and the garbage that no longer serves you in your life. And you have to open your heart and your soul and have communication with God to best guide you to that divine connection that you seek. I just don't think, you can just sit around on your couch and the person's going to show up at your front door. Like, that might happen. He might be your mailman. You never know. But the reality is, sorry, the sun is so blinding. The reality is, maybe you have to put yourself out there. So if you are, I don't know, if you're into yoga, maybe you're going to a new yoga class, or maybe if you're a Christian, you're hanging out with like Christian community groups and stuff like that. So you kind of have to gear yourself or put yourself out there to some degree on some things, or like areas of life that serve you the best. So I hope that you enjoyed this story. There's so many of them. I mean, even the way I met my ex was kind of like an interesting, kind of a divine timing, where I moved home from Australia and I went to grad school, like unexpectedly. Grad school started in 3 weeks. I ended up getting a fellowship, and I met my ex on the day we moved in, and he had a powerful enough intuition that he's like, this is the girl I was going to marry and have children with. And unfortunately, it didn't work out for like a lifelong thing, but we did get married, and we didn't have kids, but it's like I felt that our souls served a purpose and a contract, that we worked our kinks out with each other. We traveled the world, and we prepped each other for the next step in our life. And so, yeah, a reason, a season, and a lifetime. But I think if this is something that you want, you have to believe that it can happen, and you have to believe in God, have conversations with Him, connect directly to Him, and do your work. Clean up your life. If you have a drinking problem, you cannot expect to have a divine, amazing, deep soul connecting type of relationship if you're still hooked on alcohol. If you're broke, it's like these mundane human things that we shouldn't judge. People do judge them, so you have to clean up your stuff. If you have 7 dating apps downloaded, you're going to probably have to delete them, or at least most of them, because how can you instill trust with each other or with that person when that time comes to where you know, are you able to get rid of all that flirting and stuff like that and just like cut the cord? I've never online dated. I just think the whole thing is weird in general, because I think it's a black hole for a lot of people who, even the ones that might not actually cheat, they're probably just signing up to like flirt and get attention from the opposite sex. So anyways, these are some thoughts I have. I would love to hear your thoughts or comments if you believe in destiny and fate, and if you also have had your own personal experiences with this. I think that would be super interesting to hear and to read about, because we all have these amazing stories where they're unexplainable. Like, how did this happen? Who knows? It's probably from the higher power. So thank you for listening. If you'd like, please subscribe. You can also support me on Patreon. And thank you for liking, sharing, and subscribing. Bye.